This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hi, my name is Peter Kafka, and I'm the moderator this week on Tuesday, April 11th. This is our advanced recurrent prostate cancer and CAN support call, which we do weekly. And most of you know that because most of you, almost all, have been on one time or another over the weeks and months and sometimes years for some of us. So welcome. Um, if someone would be good enough to run down our sponsors, some of them are Myovant, Bayer, Pfizer, Foundation Medicine, who is been a long time sponsor of us. Um,
Telix,
Telix,
Janssen,
Janssen
um,
Pharmaceuticals, yes.
right? Myriad Genetics,
Myriad Genetics, yes. And
and
they've
I
been
think
auditing
that
some of our meetings, yes.
right. I think that's it. I think those are the 7 right now.
Okay, we mention this because in the same breath, we are very thankful for their support and for over the last year or two that they've acknowledged the importance of peer support groups and have backed us up and enabled us to not only run these groups but also run webinars. And we're very grateful for their financial support. We are not beholden to them. We are not endorsing their products, but their products often come up in our calls because many of us partake in various different treatment protocols and scans and so forth that they are participating in. So we're thankful for them. They've made our journeys a lot easier sometimes. Okay, so this call is recorded. We record our advanced calls because quite a few people can't make our weekly calls and go back to it and listen to it during the time that they have available. And sometimes there's important, pertinent information for many of us on these calls. Our stories are not just our stories; they are kind of universal stories often, or significant tips and ideas and information about various side effects and treatments and scans and this and that that are extremely helpful. I know I've been helped over the years by a lot of different people's stories, the things I never thought about that apply to me. So with that, we're going to get going. And we're going to start out with, let me get my question sheet here, if I can find one. Okay, Todd, I think you're right now the only new person we have, unless I've missed someone who came in late.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, run down some questions with you, Todd, just to make it, in the interest of time, make it go a little quicker and let your story come out in an organized way. So Todd, you said you live half the year in Illinois and half the year in Florida?
Yes.
Okay. And how old are you? How old are you?
66, about to be 67.
Okay. And when were you first diagnosed?
Last January, just over a year ago in January. Well, I think it was a little bit before that, but so probably almost a year and a half ago is when my PSA started going up a little bit out of control, and it got up to, I think it was 13, and it ended up having a procedure done about a year ago in April. Actually, it was the end of April. had HIFU and TERP down in Sarasota. It was a 7 on the Gleason, and I may have made a mistake by trying to just not get everything out of there and have a full-on, prostatectomy. But
When you say it was a Gleason 7, was it a 4+3 or 3+4 diagnosis?
shoot, I should know that.
Well, let me come in here because David and I have spoken to Todd. It was actually a 4+4. Most of the
Oh, there was an
calls
8. You're right. There was an 8 there. Yes, that's right. I didn't really realize that until I looked up the records and shared that with you guys.
Okay. And who did your HIFU treatment?
Dr. Schianti in Sarasota.
And did he go over with you the risks of doing HIFU with a Gleason 8?
Well, he got me convinced that the good thing about HIFU is that you can do it again. Whereas if you do some of the other treatments and it doesn't work, then you're done. But I now think I realize that was a bit of a sales pitch.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of the doctors who aren't in centers of excellence, have tapped into the money machine with focal treatments and don't always cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Right.
So what doctors are you seeing now?
Well, so last Tuesday, I found out that the PSMA showed that it was outside of the prostate. Okay, so this is all very new to me. This is 1 week old as far as no longer just solely a prostate conversation, but now a body cancer conversation. So right now what we're doing is we're trying to, I've got a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning with Northwestern, which is why we flew up here. And then I've got a meeting Thursday morning with University of Chicago. And then I've got a meeting on the 20th back in Sarasota with a doctor that Rick recommended in Sarasota. And then I've also signed on with MD Anderson, and I had an appointment for May 27th, which they've now made changed because I told them I couldn't live with that, to May 2nd. But I have yet to talk to any of these doctors, so I'm very privileged. I feel very privileged and honored to be able to be with you guys to talk about this, because I mean, I just, I'm all questions, right? I don't even know what question to ask, but I know I need a lot of answers. So this is
how was it determined that it had spread outside the prostate? What kind of scan did you have?
I had the PSMA PET scan about it was a week ago. It was Monday, and then on Tuesday we found out about the fact that it had gotten outside of the prostate.
Did they tell you where? Was it?
Yes, I actually read it. I did read it to Rick and David. I don't have it right in front of me, but the long and short is that it's in the T9 backbone, and it's multiple spots, lymph nodes, but closer to the prostate, but outside the prostate.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's important information. Okay. So you have you? So you're meeting on May 2nd with an MD Anderson. I imagine Florida MD Anderson.
No, Houston.
Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this on the phone or in person?
No, in person.
In person. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know who you're meeting with?
I do. If I can find it here. I have so many emails this last week from
Tell me about it.
hospitals and doctors and friends.
This is a crash course. Who would ever think that we'd become back to going to medical school at our age?
It's truly unbelievable. I just hope I can keep up with all of it. I'm doing my best, but let me see if I can find out. Let me see. I'm trying to think where I have that. The doctor. With MD.
It's okay.
Actually, with MD, I don't know the doctor yet. With MD, I have an appointment, but I don't believe that they've shared with me who the doctor is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I
So
don't have it.
let me just say something about MD Anderson, Todd, which is that they're good, um, but you have to be somewhat selective around the doc. And the question is what type of doc you're going to see there. Is it going to be a medical oncologist or is it going to be a radiation oncologist? And, there are a couple of really good GU medical oncologists down there, but then we also have someone else who in Houston who was at MD Anderson for 14 years, who we think is equally as good. So, we can talk to you about that. But I mean, frankly, with Dr. Guanciale and Dr. Shmulewitz, I think if it were me, I would stay with that. I don't
Well,
know that you need to get yourself to Houston. I think you have two really, really good docs with those
right,
two.
right, and believe me, it would be extremely convenient for us to either be Sarasota or Chicago based for obvious reasons because we have houses there. So
Yeah.
Right.
You're not
Houston
going
would
to
be great.
find, I don't think you're going to find better treatment at MD Anderson than you would from either of those other two docs. That's from a navigation standpoint. That's what I would say. If you didn't have those two, if you had one of them set up and you were looking for another opinion, fine. But I think with Guanciale and I don't know. I mean, Len, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Rick. As far as Florida goes, Dr. Well, probably should be pronounced Guanciale, but her office pronounces it Guanchel. And,
Okay.
she's a real pedigree, Harvard Medical School, Mass General, Dana-Farber Fellowship. She's really sharp. I've been seeing her for a couple of years and great personality as well. Shmulewitz, I've never met, but from guys on this call, I understand he's excellent. And so those are two good choices. I agree with Rick.
So
And
Dr. Guancho,
I
I was going to
think
say
you have
Dr.
to be
Guancho.
careful, Todd, that you can make yourself a little crazy. And we've had plenty of guys who will run around the country seeing as many doctors as they can. But what we often see when they do that is they tie themselves up in knots. And I think that if you've got two good 5-star genitourinary medical oncologists that you're already seeing, I would hold it at that and see what you need after you've spoken to both of them. And if you
Right.
feel you need another opinion, but you got so much on your plate, I don't think you need. If it were me, I wouldn't be running down to to Houston right now if I had appointments with the two that you have.
Well, the good news is that I actually have 3 appointments. Dr. Guancho when I get back to Sarasota, which I'm very excited about. That's the 20th. So that's awesome. And then my plan is to see what happens tomorrow at Northwestern, and then see what happens Thursday at University of Chicago, and then see what happens in Sarasota. I'm very anxious to make a decision very
Okay.
quickly, and Houston is incredibly inconvenient. So my goal is to fall in love with one of these first 3 options so that I can
Right.
cancel MD.
Who are you seeing at Northwestern? Because that's a tricky
So
one.
yeah, so Northwestern, it turns out it's a woman. We're meeting tomorrow at 8. Oh God, there's been so many names. Hang on one second.
Yeah.
Her name is Jory B. Sheed, Sheade.
Don't know her. Is she what sort of doctor is she?
Um, Not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Todd, let me before we get going too much on the conversation, let me preface the conversation with the fact that you're going to be okay. Many of us on this call have been in your shoes, with metastatic prostate cancer that's already escaped, and some of us have, made poor choices in our primary decision for treatment and whatever. But a lot of us have been around for a long time dealing with this, and this is not going to end your life right now. And it's just the beginning of I'm not going to even call it a battle, but it's an educational experience, that's for sure. You've got a lot of information coming at you, but don't let it overwhelm you. Don't panic. Don't feel that you've got to take care of this tomorrow afternoon or you'll be dead at the end of the week. This is not the case. You're going to be okay, and you'll be able to manage this. So I think you're obviously making some intelligent choices, going to the right places, and seeing some experts that can really give you some good advice. But it can get very confusing very quickly. So hang in there, keep with us. So does anybody want to make a comment about what Todd might be going
Well,
through?
yeah, I do, Peter. That's what I was
Okay.
trying to say before. Um, I, I think we should work with you on who you're going to see at Northwestern.
Okay. So, like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, I already have a meeting set up.
What's the name of the doc, Todd?
Jory, Jori B. Sheed, Sheade.
Okay.
I
I
put
believe
it in
someone
the
just looked her up.
There's a link
Pardon
in
me?
the chat.
Rick's disappeared.
Someone just looked her up. Is that correct?
That's correct, and there's a link in the chat to northwestern.org doctors.
That was me, Peter. I think she's a general hemonc, medical
Okay.
hemonc.
That means she doesn't specialize in prostate cancer per se. She might have a strong interest in it, but she's not a genitourinary medical oncologist. She's a hematologist oncologist. And
Okay.
so, um, so it would be good. I mean, you've already got it set up to consult with her, and I think that's important. But the doctors that Rick mentioned, Dr. Schmulowitz in Chicago, and Dr. Guanciale down in Florida, their specialty is prostate cancer.
Okay.
And
So,
because you're in a situation where the cat's out of the bag, it has already spread outside the prostate area. You've already had some kind of treatment. You want somebody who can be your quarterback and be with you for the long run, because you don't have to see them all the time. You can probably consult with them on the phone quite a bit. Most of us don't see our medical oncologist in person regularly. Most of us in this day and age now, since COVID, have appointments online or whatever. But they need to be heavily involved in your treatment, as probably Rick and David Muslin kind of said.
so what is the actual title or specialty that I'm looking for? What do you call it?
A GU medical oncologist, a genitourinary medical oncologist, a medical oncologist who specializes in diseases of the prostate, urinary tract, kidney cancer, and so forth. Specializes in these cancers, and the reason why this is because this field is changing overnight. There are some of us on treatments that weren't even approved or conceived of until recently. And you want someone who's really on their game and up to date, because some of the treatment protocols you might go on are, might be trials, might be new therapies, and every one of us is a little bit different. And you want someone who's going to treat you as an individual and not just treat the disease.
Okay.
Peter,
So
Peter, can I
let,
jump
let
in
me
with a quick comment?
Go ahead,
let
Rick.
me come back. Let me just come back in for a second. I'm sorry, computer seems to have sorted itself out. First of all, Todd, there is a chat box, which is in the top right, you'll see two little like speech squares, and hover over it, it'll say chat. If you open that up, there are links in there. People are putting information in there for you. And I think you can, you'll see. Secondly, Dr. Sheeda, Jory Sheed, or Sheed, actually, it's Sheade, Dr. Sheed, has just finished her fellowship. So she was at University of Chicago until 2022. She may well have studied under Dr. Shmulewitz. I don't know. But
Okay.
she's very new. So as nice as she doesn't have the experience.
Right.
And somebody has shunted you into her. I don't know how you got the appointment with her, how it came about. But if we were sending you to Northwestern, that's not who we would send you to. We'd
Understood.
send you
Understood.
to Vanderweel, to John Vanderweel, probably, or there's maybe somebody else. But we wouldn't send you to a doctor who is this is her first job out of fellowship. And
No, I get it, but I mean, it's. I'm sure you know this. It's not at all easy to get to the best
well,
doctor.
it isn't, but we can help you. That's why we're here.
Okay.
And you know, if you would have said to us, look, we need to get you, we could have figured something out. We have contacts, we can work through people, and we can get you there. And the problem arises that I don't know what she's probably somewhat on the ball. She isn't going to have the experience. I probably would cancel the appointment if it were me. If I knew I was going to see Dr. Shmulewitz and Dr. Guancial, you know, it's up to you, but I don't know what I mean, maybe you'll get a little bit of education out of it that you can ask the questions. Would I put a lot of weight on what she tells me? I wouldn't. But
All
you
right.
know,
Good.
So,
Rick, can I
we have
jump in for just a second? Rick, can I jump in here for a minute?
Sure, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Rick.
Okay. I want to second a lot of what Rick said. I started out when I moved from a urologist to an oncologist, it was a hematology oncologist. And she was interested in prostate cancer, but that wasn't her specialty. And the treatment was, well, you know, if we treat your PSA, we're just treating a number and on and on and on. When I got into this group, I heard the same thing that you're hearing now, and ended up with a GU medical oncologist down at UCLA, and it was like night and day. I mean,
okay.
he homed in on things and you know, immediately took charge and started me on treatment. So I can do nothing but second and third and fourth what they're saying. Get yourself a
I,
good GU medical oncologist, and you'll be much better off.
I'm hearing
Right.
you guys loud and clear. Unfortunately, my meeting on Thursday at University of Chicago is not with Dr. Is it Schmoltzwitz? I don't know how to say it exactly.
Shmulewitz.
It's not with him. It's with Dr. Patniak, which is on his team.
Yeah, he's
But
good.
yeah,
He's
David tried to get me with him, and so did a contact that we have, Kim Duchessois, who's donated a lot of money to the University of Chicago, and I just couldn't get with Dr. Russell. But so yeah, I'm glad to hear that Dr. Patniak is good, because that's who I am meeting with Thursday morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patniak is solid, and we've had two or three people that we don't know him like we know Dr. S, but we've had people who have been with him, and I think he's a solid choice. I think, but again, between Patniak and Guancial, you're good.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about seeing somebody who's in her first job. I mean, if there was greater detail of the papers she'd written, that would help. But you know, if she's written stuff, if we knew who she'd studied under, or who the fellowship, what sort of fellowship she did at Chicago, that might be a guide, but I don't see it in here.
Okay. Well,
So
then I will take whatever happens tomorrow very lightly.
You have two of the top GU medics in the country, between Shmulowitz's colleague and Quantiel.
Well, I'm excited about Gentiel because she actually worked on my dad, believe it or not, years ago, and
Wow.
I've heard nothing but good about her.
Yeah.
okay. So Todd, a couple of other questions here. So you want to put together some questions as you're seeing docs. So you want to make sure that you mentioned your dad. Did your dad have prostate cancer?
Yes.
Has anybody talked about genetic testing for you?
No.
You want to add high on your list. You want to make sure that you've got some genetic testing. Germline test for sure, but in your situation, you might want a larger somatic panel to see what's going on. Okay.
Good. Yep.
I mean, so these things, very, very important. And just as a side note, this doesn't apply to you because you've got some other options going, but there are institutions that once you are assigned a doctor in that institution, it's very difficult to get a different doctor of your choice. They kind of say, well, this is the one that was assigned to you, you're sticking with them. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really apply to you in this situation because you have the University of Chicago as a backup or down in Florida as a backup. But but if some institutions don't like you to change around and pick the staff that you want.
I can.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So do you have questions for us of what you should be asking, what you should be inquiring about? I just mentioned genetic testing as one. In this early stage, you want to be keeping records of everything. You want to have copies of all your biopsies and your scans and everything you have. These are yours. This is your information. You want to have it. You don't want it to just reside at the doctor's office, particularly if you're moving back and forth between Illinois and Florida. You want to have this stuff at your hands, have a binder with all this stuff with sections for scans, sections for blood work, et cetera, et cetera. Okay?
Yeah. Right.
Do you have questions for us?
Well, like I said, I'm not even smart enough to know what questions to ask, unfortunately. I guess the number one thing that I'm hoping to find out with these next two meetings, the next 2 days, is what should my expectations be? What does the treatment look like that you would be recommending for me? What's entailed? That would be that's what I'm hoping to find out in these next two meetings, or a little bit tonight as well, of course.
I think I can at least start telling you about that. If you don't mind, Peter, I'll just
Go ahead, John.
introduce them. So far, all you've had is the HIFU, right?
HIFU and TERP, for what that's worth. Yes, HIFU.
Okay. So after they get done explaining to you what they think is going on, they're going to present you with some various treatment options. You've already had the PET scanning. You're about to have genetic testing, so that might eventually influence what people advise you to do. But they're probably not going to advise you to sit and wait and watch this thing and see how it goes and just get a PSA every 3 months. We kind of predict, people correct me if I'm wrong, but we predict that they're going to talk to you about some kind of fairly active treatment. Now, usually at the beginning, that involves going on a kind of medication called hormone therapy.
Mm-hmm.
The hormone therapy takes the testosterone out of your system, so it tries to, because the prostate cancer at this stage of the game is very sensitive to testosterone. It thrives on it, and if you don't have any in your system, the cancer is most likely going to slow way down, and your PSA will most likely go way down.
Okay.
It's possible that in addition to that, depending on what your doctor thinks and what the tumor board thinks when they go over your results, it's possible that they'll even talk about adding a second medication to it, which further reduces the ability of testosterone to get to your prostate cancer cells. These treatments will go a certain length of time, depending again on the tumor board and your doctor's recommendation. It might be 2 years or it might be 18 months or something like that. If that's what happens, we'll take you all through the side effects and things like that.
Okay.
It's even possible, depending on the number of metastases and advancement of your cancer, that there might even be a third medication added to that, a chemotherapy regimen. And we can talk to you about all that because we've all been through all those things. So they're going to recommend, I think, anyway, 1 or 2 or 3 medications, all of which cause some side effects, but are very successful in slowing down this cancer. There's even another possibility that might come up depending on the number of metastases that you have and whether they're painful or symptomatic or not. They may even consult with another kind of specialist called a radiation oncologist. A radiation oncologist uses high-intensity X-rays or other types of radiation to try to shoot down the cancer that's in your backbone over there, or maybe even going down to the pelvis and trying to shoot down any possible cancer in the primary area where this came up, because you still have prostate you
Yes.
still have part of your prostate left,
Yeah.
And so those are what and that's usually very well tolerated. Few of us have had a lot of trouble with radiation treatment. Some of us have had temporary side effects. Some have delayed side effects. But radiation treatment is lethal to cancer cells, and so it might be considered part of your treatment plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Once you find out about these things, come back to us and we'll give you the lowdown.
Okay.
So you're in
Yep.
the information gathering stage, Todd. I mean, you can't make decisions until you get a little more information, including
Yep.
genetic testing and so forth. I'm assuming you have a partner or a wife or
Yeah.
someone in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Well, she needs to be involved in these discussions for sure,
She is.
because this is life changing for guys. Prostate cancer, for many guys, is not a big issue. It's very slow growing. Sometimes doesn't even need treatment. But for those of us in this special club that are online for treatment, it changes things around. It changes our sexual function around, sometimes our urinary function, our energy. It's just it's a big change, and she needs to be involved in the discussions. She'll need to get up to speed with her education about this, because the treatments can be debilitating, more than the cancer at this point. And so you both need to understand this and go in with open eyes, and not just do things. So unlike what you did with HIFU, you don't want to just trust the doctor. You want to be educated as much as you can, and we can guide you on where to find information out before you get into things. And just, in this situation, you don't want to just say, yes, doc, I'll do whatever you say. You want to go in with open eyes and understand where any treatment or protocol is leading you. Okay, and
So
we'll support you
here
all the way.
are a couple of pointers for you for tomorrow, if you go through with tomorrow, and certainly later in the week. First of all, ask the doctor if you can record the conversation.
Okay.
If the doctor says no, they're the wrong doctor.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Secondly, have Libby take notes
Yep.
as well as recording it, because you'll check one against the other.
Okay.
Thirdly, Peter mentioned earlier on, write your questions down. You want to write no more than 10 questions and have your questions. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to work with you at this point on the questions, but write those questions down and hand a copy of those questions to the doctor. That way, every one of those questions will get answered. Don't hold the questions in your hand, and then when the doctor says, "Oh, I've got to go," you've still got 4 questions left.
Okay. Can you
So
guys help me with what those questions would be? Because I don't even know what questions to ask.
I mean, let me throw it open and to some of the guys that have see what they say.
Todd, if you put your email in the chat window, or want somebody else gives you your email, I will jot down some questions for you after the meeting, and send them over to you. I'm not going
I'll
to do it
send
all.
you Todd's. I'll send
Go
you
ahead.
Todd's email right now, Peter.
Okay. Okay. In the
Okay.
interest of time, so we can get to everybody else, we're not going to go through all of it now. But I will, out of my brain, I'm sure I'll miss some, but I'll send you some ideas of questions that might be pertinent to your situation. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Before
Peter,
we leave, is there anybody else in the group who has anything really important they think they want to bring to Todd's attention that we might have missed? Go ahead, Dr. John.
most people at the beginning are going to say things like, after you ask all the specific questions, are going to say things like, how bad is this? Is this going to kill me? If it does, how long is it going to take? I mean, do I have to put my affairs in order now, or do I have a long time to go? We want to emphasize that I sure hope your doctor doesn't attempt to give you specific answers to those questions, because the field is changing so rapidly. I know for me, what was true when I got diagnosed 3 years ago is completely not true anymore.
Wow.
So I think what we can tell you about that, depending on the experts' opinions, of course, but I think the truth of those things is that you do have a serious illness, but that you're not in any trouble right now in the near term. It's it might be hard work, but it's going to be a question of managing this problem with different medications or radiation treatment for an extended period of time. So if you find yourself terrified or anything like that right now, I would say do take this seriously, but don't be terrified that you're terminal now or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
also
I feel like,
it's probably not going to go away on its own, though.
no, I don't think so. But I'm
Okay.
not terrified in any way, shape, or form. I'm up for the fight. I'm very healthy. We have the resources, so I'm going to go after it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your guys' support and help and knowledge, experience.
Okay. Well, great to have you on board, and I'll write to you after the meeting and give you some information.
Hey,
Yeah.
Okay.
Todd, this is Steve Waite. Find out, if you don't already know, if whatever electronic medical record application they use, if there's a patient portal, and
Oh,
find out how you can sign up if you haven't already.
yeah.
But
I've been doing that with Epic and MyChart and all the different ones.
perfect.
So
Right.
I have a friend that was telling me all about that. So fortunately, I've indoctrinated myself and kind of gone down that road, and I have everything loaded up in there. So that's really important. I know.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
and
thanks very much, Todd. And we're gonna move on because there's quite a few guys that want to participate tonight and have some issues and stuff. But hang in there, listen, Todd. You'll learn quite a bit just listening to the rest of the guys tonight. Okay?
Unfortunately, I was telling David, I'm only up here in Chicago for like a couple of days, and tonight is the only night that I can see my grandkids. So
Oh,
I do need to break away, and I'm so sorry. The next meetings, I'll make sure that I don't have those situations. But tonight I do need to break away, unfortunately.
okay. We're with you though. Hang in
All
there.
right.
We're with you.
Thank you guys. Very nice meeting all of you, and I really do appreciate your support.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Okay, Richard Talbert.
A quick update, guys. I'm on Orgovix and Extende. I had some financial issues with the cost of particularly the Extende. With good news, I got a grant today for $7,000 from the Patients Access Network, which will help me throughout the remainder of the year. Because starting in January, uh, it cost me like $3,500 for the two meds of Orgovix and Extende. And I started doing the Extende once a day rather than the four times a day. But my blood work showed today when I visited with my oncology team that my PSA is still undetectable. But based on this grant, I'm going to go back to the maximum dose and no side effects on either of the drugs. A little hot flashes, but again, undetectable PSA, and I'm doing good. So I just wanted to provide that update.
Very good. Is anybody else?
Any recommendations to anyone else looking for money for assistance
Yeah,
based on the?
Rick, I was on the waiting list of the Patient Access Network. They sent me an email last Thursday saying that I needed to reapply. And like I say, I got the notification today
Great.
that I've been applied. So they do have some money available. If anybody needs that, I would get in touch with them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here because this is a little bit of an ethics question. But Richard and I met a few weeks ago. He was at a meeting a little bit, and I perked up my ears when he started talking about financial need and disease. And I had a friend locally here pass away, and his wife called me up and said, "Hey, what do I do with these meds?" And I was able to pass some unopened bottles onto Richard. So, I mean, we're not in the business of selling medications or giving medications away and stuff. But if you ever hear of anybody, I mean, this is valuable stuff, as you all know. I mean, some of this medication is like $10,000 a month, which is
Right.
crazy. But not everybody's in position to afford to have this. I mean, I think of my own treatments and what Medicare and what my secondary pays for it, and I know that if I didn't have that insurance, I'd be up the creek. I'd be, either dead or limping along or in desperate straits right now because I couldn't afford the treatment I'm on or the medications I've been on. So keep your ear to the ground if you hear of someone passing on that might have some extra meds. Just give a shout out because somebody might be able to use them.
And I'll put the Pan Foundation website in the group chat.
Okay, well, good to have you aboard, Richard.
Thank you.
Okay, Frank Favish.
Yes, I start the next step in my treatment tomorrow. I have two CT scans scheduled for tomorrow morning, and they'll give a good indication if they're causing or there is some cause for my PSA increasing. And I'll be having those tomorrow morning, and then I meet with my oncologist next Tuesday to discuss the results of the scans. And
What kind of rise are you having in PSA?
as I said a couple weeks ago, even though it's small, in 3 months I went from 0.08 to 0.14. And they'll run another set of blood draw next week, and I'll know where it's at in 4 weeks since my last blood draw. But I had been at undetectable after chemo for almost a year and a half. So they're concerned about the trend right now and what's causing it.
Yeah, that's enough to get your attention for sure. I know that's the way I've been working for the last number of years. Just watching those trends, even though the numbers are low, and it's not panic time. It's you watch those trends and you start seeing doubling, month after month or every couple of months, and it's you don't want to ignore it. Good for you.
Mm-hmm. So just wanted to say that as a heads up, and I'll have more information next week.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any comments for Frank? Questions?
What scans are you getting tomorrow, Frank?
They're the 2 CT scans, one of the upper chest, one below it, and they'll be looking at my nodules in the lungs, in the pancreas, and then in the lymph nodes and the internal organs, and see if anything lights up anywhere in those areas.
Yeah, what type of scans are these? FDG PET scans or choline scans, or do you know what type of scans they're giving you?
I think Frank might have froze up there for a second.
Okay. I think he just. And Len, by the way, texted me. He froze up and got kicked out. It happened to me before, and looks like something's going on here with the network. I don't know why we're all getting kicked out, but anyway. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's. I just got back on, but that's what they're doing, are the CT scans with contrast, and see what they reveal, if anything at all.
Okay. So just a standard CT scan. Good enough.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, good luck with that, and let us know what you find, what you come up with.
Sure will.
Mike Yancey, you had something you wanted to bring up tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just a quick update here. Of course, as I related a few weeks ago, I have lesions on my spine that do not express PSMA, so that caused us to stop Pluvicto and move to a chemo combination of etoposide and carboplatin. But I had an MRI scan on March 21st that showed a new lesion on my right hip that did not show up on the March 6th PSMA PET scan. So we're thinking that this new lesion also, much like those on my spine, do not express PSMA. I am having a biopsy on April 18th, which very similar to what we did with the lesion on my spine. We'll send to a company called Improbe for some proteomics analysis. as well as we'll also send it like we did the one in October to Tempus for RNA sequencing to see what results that this lesion might show with respect to either differences or commonalities, as well as any treatment recommendations. So we do expect some differences in the two micro environments, but we will see what comes out of all that. So that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions? Yeah, it doesn't hurt to get a second, send that biopsy sample and get another genomic testing on it. So sometimes things change. Did for me.
Any movement in your PSA? Significant? I know you don't make much anyway, but is there any significant change, Mike?
Well, of course, as I mentioned last time, I did stop ADT for about 3 months just to see what did happen. And for 2 months, it continued to drop down to a low of 0.14. And then in March, it jumped up to 0.37. But as of this week, it's back down to 0.21. And I did start back up on Orgovix here at the beginning of March.
Yeah, that'll suppress it and keep it down.
So, Mike, this is John, are there proteomic assays that are clinically in use now that you're getting?
Myovant.
Well, let's put it this way. Improbe actually was the output that they got from the analysis they did. They actually recommended the etoposide and carboplatin as opposed to what normally would be kind of a standard of care, which would have been the cabazitaxel and carboplatin. And at this point in time, for the most part, etoposide and carboplatin is working quite well on my spine lesions. Kind of a question as to there must be some differences in my hip because it didn't hold it back or cause it, keep it from forming, if you will. So hopefully we'll get some new information to take a look at and see if Improbe comes up with any new treatment options, as well as if Tempus has anything new. And then something I'm also going to do, just kind of a third option, is been working with another company. And these are kind of new companies that are getting into the medical industry. They aren't necessarily embraced by most of the oncology organization, but a company called CureMatch. And basically, they take all the inputs from my DNA, RNA, and proteomics analyses and run it through their system, if you will. And I've had this done several months ago, and they come up with multi-drug options. And so as soon as I get this next biopsy, we'll also update everything, get back to them, and have them give me another update. One thing they don't do, what CureMatch does not do, they don't provide dosing information. So I will also be getting with some academics on dosing shortly after that to see how we should administer these multiple drugs simultaneously, knowing full well that the dosing will be different from when it's done in a monotherapy situation. And what the CureMatch options will be doing, they'll just be another set of treatment options that I've kind of got in the tool bag that we can use as we go forward.
I may have missed this, Mike, but did they add the etoposide or did they not add the etoposide?
Well, I'm currently on etoposide and carboplatin. I've been doing
You
that.
are, okay. So you're currently getting etoposide plus carbo. Okay.
Yeah, but just finishing up tomorrow. I'll finish up my 4th session, and we're planning on doing 3 more sessions of that.
How are you doing on the chemo? How are you feeling? Usually by 4, you start feeling it pretty good.
I don't have any side effects at all. I mean, I'm going just as strong as ever. Basically, what I've learned to do is I do have access where I get my treatment to a fitness center. So basically, I lift weights and swim about 45 minutes every day, and that just keeping very active keeps any fatigue away. I have 0 fatigue.
For you. Good for you. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Don Needham.
Hi, guys. Yeah, only my second time. I missed the last couple of weeks because life kind of got in the way, but I learned a lot 2 weeks ago, and I want to thank you guys for that. I just wanted to give some feedback to some actions I took as a result of that meeting and getting some inputs from you guys. You had recommended Dr. Vuki at OHSU, And I subsequently got a referral to her from my RO here in Bend. But she has left OHSU, and OHSU is not taking new patients as a result of it. So it was kind of a bummer. But OHSU did a kind of a full circle on me and recommended I give, in the meantime, that I give an MO, because I wanted to see an MO, and it was your recommendation that I do that, a GUMO. And so they went full circle on me and took me back to Bend for a guy named Dr. Considine, who I do not believe is a GUMO. So there's a problem there, and I realize that. I do have an appointment with him on Friday, and I'm going to go through with it with him because I don't have any, so far, I haven't had any input from a medical oncologist yet. I don't know, you guys probably don't remember my background just quickly. I had a I had a radical prostatectomy, prostatectomy. I went 14 months undetectable. PSA started rising. My urologist here in Bend, I had changed from Central California to Bend. I recommended radiation and ADT. I did go and see Dr. Vuki for a second opinion, and she concurred that was a fine course at that time. She recommended abiraterone also, but he did not, my local guy, and so I didn't get abiraterone. Still have not taken abiraterone with my Lupron. And so now I'm back to Bend with this guy, Dr. Considine. But in the meantime, I'm on a list to see the next available GUMO at OHSU because they are going to start taking patients again. And I wanted to see if I could get a recommendation for a doctor, an MO in Seattle, if you had a name.
Yeah, you're reading my mind here. I was just looking how far it was from Bend to Seattle versus Bend to Portland. There are some good options at Seattle Cancer Center, which is part of UW. Probably Evan Yu is a really good option. YU, EVAN, and the last name is Yu. Then
UW, you say it's part of UW?
Yeah, Seattle Cancer Care Center. I don't know. Where's Pat Martin? He was on before. Is he still with us? I saw he came
here.
on. Are you there? So who
Yeah.
would you recommend? Who would you recommend in Seattle, Pat?
Well, I go to Doc Schweitzer, and he's in SCCA. But they call it all of it. They call right now Fred Hutch,
Right,
and
Fred Hutch.
he's phenomenal. I really enjoy him. I've had him for 8.5 years now, and his whole team is great. And
What was the
I'm a kind
doctor's
of guy
name?
that can bring out the clinkers, kind of the dead wood. There's none in his practice. They're all good.
Dr.
Michael
Schweitzer.
Michael
Schweitzer.
Schweitzer.
Yeah.
I'll put Schweitzer's link in the chat window for you, and I'll put Dr. Yu's link in the chat window for you. Another lady that we like a lot is Heather Chang. Heather Chang. She's doing a lot of stuff with genetics and genomics. She's one of the principal investigators on the PROMISE study. So she's
Where's she
another
located?
option for you there.
Where's she?
Same. They're all in the same place.
Oh, I thought it was Fred Hutch. So
They're
Seattle
all in
Cancer
Hutch.
Center?
They're
Okay, they're
all in
all Hutch.
Hutch.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, as Pat said, there's Seattle Cancer Care or UW, but it's all they all come under Hutch. All right.
Okay.
I think as we move along, I can't do it immediately, but I'll put all these in. Keep an eye on the chat window,
I'll do that.
and I'll put the links in for each of them. If you click on those links, they'll open in your browser. You can look at them later.
Yeah, Seattle would be preferable to UCSF rather than going to San Francisco. I'd rather go up to Seattle.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. As we said earlier, after the initial visit, you often don't need to go back and regularly see your medical oncologist. Just keep in touch with them, and because they'll be following your treatment protocol, and you can usually keep in touch by phone visit or visual things or whatever. So it's not like a physical exam every time unless you're under active treatment, which is then they need to be with you every 3 weeks or 6 weeks, depending on if you're doing chemo or something.
Right, right. Okay, I sure learned a lot. I thought I was well read and well educated until I was on the call with you guys a couple weeks ago. So I should be a regular on here from now on. Uh,
Okay.
I'm a sponge. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll save you a square and a third line.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Good luck. Okay.
I just want to check, is there anybody else from the Seattle area other than Pat that I might have just missed? Or anybody who wants to suggest somebody in the Seattle area? Ken Anderson, is there anybody you would recommend from the Seattle area?
No, I don't know most of the docs at the UW, so I can't really say.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I just got an email the other day from a guy who's been on our calls from the Seattle area, and I'm trying to remember his name. His wife's name is Kathy. I could check with him.
Right, I'm putting these in for you as we speak. I'm putting in these links for you, Don. So you'll just click on them and open them.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you're up at Fred Hutch and have any need of a radiation oncologist, Dr. Russell is excellent. He worked with Mac Roach down at UCSF. They're kind of buddies.
Okay.
If you need any, he goes out of his way to help his patients.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Stephen Wait, you still with us?
Yes, sir, I am. I didn't have anything unless you have questions for me
Okay.
tonight.
Somehow I had a check mark next to your name. I wasn't sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Jimmy Greenfield, man in the white hat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Glad to be here, sort of, as we know. I don't usually get reflective, but I had my labs this week, and it's 4 years. It'll be 4 years in June that I had a prostatectomy. Shortly after that, I had very aggressive treatment with an undetectable PSA, which is not typical. Studies have shown perhaps that it doesn't make any difference if you allow the PSA to rise before you do anything. But the layman in me, along with that it was recommended by my urologic surgeon at Hopkins to go see him, gave me opportunity to take pretty aggressive adjuvant treatment, which I took because I felt like I was pretty biologically young at 63, and I only risk I could see was overtreatment, and I wasn't worried about that because I wanted to, as my brother, who's an MD for 40 years, said, your first shot is your best shot pretty much in any of this cancer business. And I kind of felt that way. And the only thing is that when I started in, I had started to get back a little bit of erectile function, and then the ADT completely removed all desire. It doesn't do that to everybody, but it did to me. So I didn't do a penile rehab because I just wasn't interested. And the effects of that are, ongoing and chronic. However, I'm 2.5 years since my last Lupron shot. I'm 2 years post full return of testosterone. My testosterone is high, and my erectile function and my PSA are undetectable. So as they say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, especially if it's the right 2. And as we know, those are the right 2. So that's where I'm at.
Very good. Anybody have any comments for Jimmy? I think your batting average is higher than mine, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
if no one else is going to say it, I'm going to say that's great news, Jimmy. And you'll keep working on the ED stuff, and with the injections or whatever, and who knows? I mean, these nerves take a long time, but the fact that your PSA is still undetectable, we love that. And what did you say your testosterone was? It was 606 in January. What is it now?
It's about the same, 603.
Okay.
And yeah, I feel great and all that. The erectile function, man, it has come back a tiny bit. It's just that it's not the injections I don't like for various reasons. I think that if I stayed, undetectable long enough, I might think about an implant. But to tell you the truth, I put this first at attempting to hit it as hard as I could early. And I know it isn't always done, but I just felt like to trade quality of life on the front end for possible problems later. I was only guessing, but I just didn't see that. I didn't see overtreatment as being an issue. I had positive lymph node and seminal vesicle invasion. It was clear that I was going to need more at some point. So I just decided to take it, get out of the way, and hope that it made any difference. I will never know, but I'm doing well so far.
Jimmy, it's David. I use the injections, and if you want to talk offline about them, I'd be happy to. But I've been pretty successful with it.
I wouldn't talk to just anybody about them, but I got a feeling that you're still riding the horse pretty strong. So maybe you're the guy to talk to. It's just an intuition, that's all.
Yeah. Listen, it's I got to hook you up with my wife. It's not that easy.
Hook you up with your wife? That sounds good. I don't know if my wife will be so crazy about that.
The injections are way easier than talking to her sometimes.
All right, get me out of here.
I'll be happy to talk about it offline.
Excuse me, Jimmy. How come you are still hiding the hair?
I don't hide the hair. I don't have any to hide.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's a little cool down here in the basement, even though it's gotten a lot warmer. All right, get out of here. With this. We have people.
I'm getting worried. We're talking trimix, wife swapping here. I don't know what's going on. They'll shut us down before long.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut this conversation down right now.
Okay.
Remember,
I love you all. Thank you.
This is being recorded, right?
Rub it in.
Jimmy,
Go on.
Jimmy, were you able to be helpful to my friend here on Maui?
I tried. I told him, feel free to call me about his AUS, and he didn't call about it. But that's the other thing. I'll say this one more thing. I had 5% statistically have heavy incontinence that continues. I had it so bad I had to get an artificial urinary sphincter. Okay, so there's one more consequence of the treatment. But when I look at all these guys that I've met, and I see, and I'm distressed about a lot of it, and it's such a serious disease, and it's so survival endowed, and it's so it's so hard, and we fight it so strong. I'm never going to regret, no matter what happens, taking the opportunity to hit it as hard as I could early. That's all.
Well said, Jimmy. Well said.
Okay. Herb Courtney. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my mic back on.
You're good.
You're on. You're on.
No, you were on. You were on. Now there you go. No,
Nope.
you turned it off. Turn it on again.
There it is.
That's it. It's good.
Is it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Got it now?
Yes.
Go.
Okay. All right. Now I'm showing it on now. Okay, I'm showing it on now.
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay. Jeez, what a hassle. Yeah, first, just one quick question. Several weeks ago on the Monday night session, I was asking for guidance on something that might mitigate the hot flashes from Lupron. And somebody in the group, and I can't remember his name, said he had really, really good success with something called red clover. And I thought, before I spend $300 on the electronic device, I might try that. But I went online, and well, there's umpteen different types of red clover and dosages and everything else. And I thought, if anybody here knows or knows the guy that gave me that advice, that could give me more specifics on exactly, the brand he used or is using, the dosage amount, etc.
Hello? Can you hear me? It's John Kish.
Yep.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'll have to look tomorrow to get the brand, but I get it at I'll have to go there tomorrow to the health food store to get the brand of red clover. But there's all different ones, but I'll go there tomorrow, but I don't have a computer. Can I give you my phone number and you can call me or whatever? Or
Sure. Give me your phone. I'll write it down and I'll give you a call later tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. 570-751. 570-751. Okay.
Hang on. 570-751.
6748. So, and a good book that has just a paragraph on red clover is Prescription for Nutritional Healing by Phyllis Balch, and a real old-fashioned herbal book, Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss, talks about red clover, but it has a lot of good effects for like high blood pressure, diabetes. It supposedly dissolves tumors. I'm not a doctor, but I believe in it, so
Yeah. I've read all that stuff. And tell me your name again, so I know who I'm asking for when I call you.
Yeah. Okay, John Kish, Kish, like Kmart. I kind of mumble, so.
Kish. Okay, I got it, John. Okay, thanks for that. And I got just a second comment. I saw Rettig down at UCLA, and that was a breath of fresh air because all he does is prostate cancer, and he's a GU med-onc. And he's put me back on Lupron 30 days, and then wrote me a prescription for darolutamide, which I'm in the process of getting right now. I haven't received it yet, but I should be getting it in a matter of a week or so. And I'm going to do 300 tabs twice a day. So a total of 1,200 milligrams. Seems like a lot, but it is what it is. And I was just curious if anybody's been on that specific regimen, what they've seen, outcomes, side effects, etc.
Yeah, a number of us have. I was on it for over 2 years. Worked for me. Keeps your PSA down. The advantage of it for me was it didn't have a lot of brain fog with it. It supposedly doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
To me, it was very tolerable. I had no problem with it.
Yeah, Rettig seemed.
Len took it quite a bit. Len, do you have any comments?
What did I take?
Darolutamide. Do you
Oh,
remember?
yeah. Yes. Worked great for me as it did for Peter. I had no side effects until near the end after being on it for about, I don't know, almost 2 years, I think. I did start to feel fatigue. And then I took a vacation.
Well, the doctor said that I was taking quite some time ago Xtandi, had a lot of side effects from that, but he thought that darolutamide would be have way less side effects than the Xtandi, and that in combination with the Lupron, he expects pretty good things. So I'm pretty happy and can't thank you guys enough for that recommendation. Like I said, it's just night and day from going from just a hematology oncologist with an interest to GU med onc. So
no, he's pretty animated, Rettig. I've heard him speak a number of times, and he's right there. So I thought you would like him, and I'm glad you did. The one other suggestion for your hot flashes, and I think Dr. John is not on the call right now. He must have had to drop off. Are you with us, Dr. John?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
So Dr. John kept this under his shirt for a long while, but we recently learned that he's also a licensed acupuncturist, which is very interesting, and practiced as such at the VA. And so, John, what is your input on using acupuncture to control hot flashes? And I know you have to do it like every 3 weeks. You have to keep going back. But what do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm not licensed as an acupuncturist. Having the MD made it so I didn't really have to bother getting any kind of separate license. So it was up to me to get training. And so I'm an unofficial acupuncturist, like an acupuncture tech or something like that. I certainly liked it, and I loved being able to practice it. I think it's worth a try. I think acupuncture is worth a try for your hot flashes. If it doesn't work in a little while, just drop it.
Yeah, I might give it a shot.
One other option there. This is Jeff Markey. I just let you know, I had severe hot flashes for a whole year, the first year of taking Lupron. And I was getting 10, 12 a day, and they were dripping down my eyes. A Depo-Provera shot every 3 months just pretty much stopped them. I found
what shot?
A Depo-Provera, DEPO.
Depo-Provera.
Yeah, so women use it for birth control, but it just stops them for me. Maybe the first 10 days I feel them, and then the hot flashes stop. Now, I also, after taking Abby or Zytiga, I started getting hot flashes again, even though I was on the Abby. And in that case, the Ember devices were really useful for not only reducing the number of hot flashes, but after about a year of wearing it, well, I was wearing 2 of them, I was able to actually stop taking the Depo-Provera for about 6 months. And then my hot flashes started coming on, so I took it for a couple months, and then I stopped again because the device, the Ember device really does work when when you're not getting a whole lot of them and they're not real intense. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
That's it for me.
That's it. Okay. Um, there's still a few more people to go, but can we? I just thought maybe we could take a break before too many people leave and get an update from the other Herb, not directly but indirectly. How's I know some of us have been updated regularly from his wife and from Rick and so forth, but I'm sure we're all
Yeah.
Very
concerned.
anxious.
But he's recently picked himself up a little bit and come out of the fog, but we're still all very concerned about him. So Rick, you're probably in the best position to let us know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well, to say he's picked himself up a bit is probably an understatement, since we managed to get him moved off of an end of life hospice protocol and onto a palliative hospice protocol, because as of last Friday, they had shunted him at the NIH into the oncology hospice unit, and Herb was under the impression that he wanted to die and he didn't want any more treatment. When we spoke to him, we weren't so sure about that. And the next day he rallied, and we persuaded his care partner to delve down a little bit and find out if maybe he should still be getting treatment. And then the next thing that happened was that they put him back on antibiotics. They started giving him treatments to hydrate him. And where we are right now is that we are doing everything we possibly can, and it's very, very difficult to try and involve a neoendocrine oncologist in Herb's treatment. He has not, even though Herb went in to the NIH with a diagnosis of neoendocrine prostate cancer that was confirmed by Dr. Epstein the day after he went in, and even though his care team is aware of it, he's never been treated for his cancer. And as far as neoendocrine cancer is concerned, there appears not to be a qualified person at the NIH. That's what we're hearing, and we've identified qualified people. There are qualified people at Hopkins, but at this point, his care team is keeping him at the NIH, and there's only so much we can do, and we're bringing as much pressure as we can on them to either have a qualified neoendocrine tumor, preferably oncology doc, assume his care at the NIH if such a person exists, and we would want confirmation from an independent source, or if not, to get him moved. Now, bless him, he's now stated clearly he wants to get treated for the neoendocrine cancer. There are treatments that are available, very similar treatments to what Mike Yancey has been doing. He should respond. He may not be able to take more than one treatment at a time, but the carboplatin and the etoposide are certainly where to start. We just don't know how to get him to a place where the expertise is there to treat him. And it is a daily issue right now, and we're doing our best. But, to some extent, we're working with our hands tied behind our back. It's beyond me why he ever went into the NIH and why the NIH didn't treat him for a known diagnosis at the beginning, but rather used him as a research subject and a bloody lab rat. But I've got some people, God bless Dr. John and David, tempering me a little bit in my communications. I'm smart enough to ask them for advice. And that's where we are. I don't know, John or Dr. John or David or Jimmy, Gary, if you want to add anything, please do.
I think you said it well, Rick. And we're kind of on the outside looking in, and we're trying our hardest. And just send Herb some good energy, and hopefully we can get him through this.
Yeah.
I
walk around the house. I walk around the house yelling out, "Herbie, go for it, Herbie!" And I think it's. I know it sounds stupid, but I think it's having an effect. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is just, we all know, those of us who have been watching him, the ins and outs of, thanks to you especially, his treatment and the direction of it and the mismanagement of it, in your opinion. And I think you're right. And all these other things of the medical particulars and where he is and the thing with his conflicts of interest. But, we talked about that even quite a while ago when I first took him over to the gym, when he was doing a lot better. And I was surprised at how frail he was. I was surprised at how physically down he was. And he was very interested in trying to get better and trying to get stronger. And then, he got knocked down after that. And all along the way, even when he was trying to get stronger and trying to get better, he always kept saying, well, I just really don't know. I just think it's all kind of futile. And he had a really negative attitude. And we have been, doing our best to say, look, this is not going to help you. And there's a lot to go here. There's a lot to be hopeful for. There's a lot to do. And now, he just needs to get strong enough to be able to take the carboplatin. And right now, the fact that he's getting a little bit better could open the door to him having a whole different extension of his life and a whole different type of life. And I think he really realizes that for the first time. And why wouldn't we be hopeful, Because only a short time ago, he was ready to completely fold up the tent. So I'm hopeful.
Right. I think we're all pulling for him. And I just want to say a word of appreciation for Rick. Those of us who've known him for a number of years, this is not the first time we've seen him in this position. Rick does not give up on any of us. He never will. It may not feel comfortable for those of us around us, in the latter days, but Rick keeps pushing, and I think we're all grateful for that. He does not give up. If there's still light in the eyes, if there's still something there, he looks for it. And I've seen him do that with numerous people from coast to coast over the years, and it's not everybody makes it, of course, but they're fighting to the end with our support and Rick in back of it all. So we're thankful for you, Rick.
Amen to that, Rick.
Thank you, Peter and Gary and everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to add to that because he already knows how much I love him, and I don't need to add that. Let's go ahead and add it anyway.
No, this isn't about me. It's about a very complicated family, political, messy situation, and we have just tried to be smarter, to end play the situation and to finesse it. And I just hope we have enough time. I just don't know. I honestly don't know. But I do know one thing, that he should have been at Hopkins by today, and he's not. And we're still getting the runaround. And I don't know how we can get him to Hopkins. I don't. But I do feel, and this, I'm speaking for myself, and I haven't run this past the ANCAM board. I'm speaking for myself, so I don't know what we'll do, but at some point in the future, I sure like to pursue the way he's been treated in that hospital, because For me, it borders on malpractice. You can't admit a guy who has a known diagnosis of neuroendocrine cancer and not treat him for that in almost 4 weeks. It'll be 4 weeks tomorrow that he went into the hospital. You can't do it anyway.
Rick,
Don't get me started.
I was I saw a Hopkins urologist this morning, and I asked her about neuroendocrine specialists at Hopkins. She said they probably would not treat this sort of case with that pancreatic clinic. And so she referred me for my friend. I didn't, I told her it was for a friend. She said I would start with Channing Paller and Carducci. And I know that Paller will not treat somebody who's Carducci's patient without checking with him first.
Mm-hmm. So what we've done is that we've asked some very influential neuroendocrine oncologists to identify the right doctor at Hopkins. And if they can identify him, that will include them asking to take him in. Now, Carducci may or may not have the right idea. He's talking carboplatin and etoposide. We know that, but it's got to be a lot more subtle than that from what I'm being told. As far as Channing Paller is concerned, she's very nice. We know her. We've done webinars with her. I don't know what work she's done on neuroendocrine cancer.
Right.
And we feel that in most of these, I mean, they have an extensive neuroendocrine service at Hopkins. So I am not going to second guess our neuroendocrine oncologists. If we need someone at Hopkins, the first name will come from them. And if we then need to get a GU oncologist, a GU med onc involved, whether it's Paller or whether it's Carducci, I don't know. We do know of two very, very good GU medical oncologists who do have a specialty in neuroendocrine, and we can bring both of them in. And I think the neuroendocrine oncologists would welcome that because they're going to understand that from the beginning.
But you haven't gotten a name yet from your sources?
It's not up to me to get a name. I haven't asked them.
Oh.
We've been asking his care partner to get a name for 4 weeks, Gary. I mentioned this to you a couple of times. It's not. It doesn't do me any good. What am I going to do? Call up my sources and say who is the right person? I can't. If I knew who the right person was, I couldn't get in there.
Yeah, this gets into some political stuff. Yeah, it's tough. So it's not like we're not trying to do everything we can, but it's just a tough situation right now. And and a good deal of it has to do with the fact that Herb's got a professional relationship with the National Institute of Health. So, and his partner does too. So, okay. Well, thank you for that, and whoever speaks to Herb or connects with him, let him know that we think about him all the time, and we're all pulling for him with everything we have for sure. Rick's not the only person that walks around praying out loud.
You all are. I just want to say on the basis of Carducci knew the situation weeks ago, and he's totally AWOL until somebody, through our pushing, pulled him into the conversation last Monday when he didn't have anything to bloody contribute.
No, that's
You
why
know,
I said that.
Carducci, there's a lot Carducci could have bloody done. He could have called right at the beginning and said, this guy has neuroendocrine prostate cancer. Let's pull him out of here. Let's get him over to Hopkins. But he didn't. I'm angry. You can hear how angry I am about Carducci.
Right. And I mentioned the urology conversation just to say that that was a dead end because it went right back there.
Right. Got it. Okay, there's a few more people that want to speak. All right, we know where our heart is. This one. Ravi. Sorry to interfere with the flow of the thing, but Ravi, go ahead. You've got the floor for a little bit. We have a few more minutes.
I don't know if you people can see me, but that was. I'm glad you took the time to talk about this. Anyway, so I think the last time when I spoke to you guys, I spoke to you about how badly I was doing in regards radiation cystitis and radiation proctitis. I went into hyperbaric oxygen therapy for treating that, and I just wanted to report back that I'm doing very well at the end of it. After 40 treatments, it all seems to have resolved. For a while, it looked like it just wasn't working. Until about the 30th treatment, I was still bleeding, I was still passing clots, and I had one occasion where I thought I might end up again back at the hospital. But between 30 and 40, it just all cleared up, and I've been now free of bleeding for the last 2 weeks or so, 10 days.
Wow, that's great news.
That's
great news.
And thank you for, Rick, thank you for asking me to talk to Alan Moskowitz. It was very, very useful. So I'm now looking forward to start running and lifting weights and all that, which I just could not do for months and months.
Great. I mean, that says something for sticking through, not giving up on something just because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I'm in a treatment protocol where things sometimes don't look good for a while, but you got to just stay the course, keep going, and see what happens.
One thing I might point out, though, there are very few studies here in regards radiation proctitis, in regards hyperbaric oxygen treatment being useful for radiation proctitis. And perhaps because of that, insurance doesn't cover that. So that's not what I went in for. I went in for radiation cystitis, and it seems like it has also helped my proctitis problem.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that's all I have. I just wanted to report out for anyone else who might be going through the same problem.
Was the hyperbaric treatment all covered? The 40 sessions covered by your insurance?
Yeah. You can go up to 60. They cover you up to 60.
Wow.
But at 40, my doctor said, my urologist suggested that we wait for a month to see if anything's coming back, and then we can call it over. The only remaining side effect that I had very little side effect. The only remaining side effect is that it has affected my vision adversely, my distance vision, which is very distracting. But apparently, it will come back.
Right.
So this is a known side effect, Ravi, and it is the concern that I would have, and I think you should be talking to the eye doctors, is that it is associated with cataracts. We've seen it before. Mm-hmm. Len may have some more input on that. I seem to recall he looked at it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He researched it. Len researched it at one point. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but there is a real issue around hyperbaric treatment and cataracts.
Yes,
So
there is, yeah. But it doesn't look like mine is cataract because it keeps changing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, but at any rate, I mean, they said that within 5 weeks I should be back to normal. So if it doesn't, I'm going to have to do something about it.
Okay. Well, we're really glad you got some relief from the major problem that you had.
Thank you.
Hopefully the eye thing will be secondary and not
Yeah,
hopefully won't have much significance.
I hope so.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions for Ravi on this? Okay. Jack, you had your
Yeah,
hand up.
thank you. Just a brief synopsis of where I am. I have to fly up to Sloan Kettering tomorrow. It's mandatory. Otherwise, they won't continue to read films for me and see me in telehealth because I haven't seen them in 5 years. I'm flying in just for the day, and we'll see my medical oncologist up there for a half hour and fly back. I'm not sure what I'll accomplish, but I'll see what he has to say and see how much tension it creates between my being on darolutamide currently, which I started over the past few days. Dr. Belusic only put me on 300 BID twice a day to start rather than 600 because he wants to see how I respond and then take some blood tests because I'm on all this other medication for my atrial fib. The ablation is scheduled for May 2nd, assuming that it goes well. Hopefully, I'll start the Relugolix as soon as possible when I'm able to. I'm looking forward to getting that going because I'm frightened at the progression of my doubling time and all the other things that are going on. I've got 5 lesions, as I mentioned before, scheduled to get some SBRT lined up. I had the preliminary sitting where they did a simulation, and the 3 lung nodes are going to be hit with SBRT 5 fractions. I don't know, and the L4. He's not too sure whether he wants to do the 8th posterior lateral rib on the left side. I hope he does. Because I have some strange symptoms. Feel like a sort of an itch and a discomfort back there. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. But that's kind of where I am, and I just wanted to catch everybody up. One more thing, I got another booster shot. I don't know how many of you are as concerned about getting COVID with all this treatment, whether it's chemo or androgen deprivation therapy, radiation, whatever. But I know I'm immunosuppressed, otherwise I wouldn't have come back after 20 years. So I got my second booster shot. I don't know how many of you guys have done this. And that's my story. And whatever feedback you can give me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about it, the booster shot, because, well, particularly you, if you do a lot of traveling like you do, it's probably pretty important because you're around a lot of people that you don't know.
I just want to say I was fully boosted, got COVID while I was on ADT, but most of the colds I've had were worse. I just had a few days of a cough, few days of runny nose, and that was it. No other effects, no fatigue, nothing. So I was very lucky, but I did get it while I was on ADT.
I think cancer patients also have a particularly high chance of getting long COVID. Something like 60%, I think I read.
Wow, we don't want to go there.
How effective do you think the darolutamide is at 300 milligrams twice a day rather than 6? Any thoughts about that?
Len has some experience with that. Len, are you still there?
Check that. No.
I tried cutting the doses. I don't see Len on anymore. I tried cutting the dose, and it worked fine for me. But it was after a while of of
Yeah,
the whole
well, I'm
600.
just beginning. I'm just beginning and working my way in. The only thing I feel is fatigue, some tiredness, and wanting to
Yeah,
take
you
a nap.
will.
You know. But other than that, Larry,
Larry, did you have a comment?
can't hear,
Can't
can't
hear
hear.
you. Very good. Well,
All right.
So why are you? I'm not clear why you're going up to Memorial Sloan Kettering tomorrow, Jack.
Oh, that's a good question. It's a question several people asked me because I don't want to lose my connection to Sloan Kettering. Whoever knows where I'm going to be down the road, and they're sort of they have all kinds of protocols and programs and trials, and I just don't want to lose my connection. 20 years, it's a long time, and he's willing to stay connected to me if I go up there, and he will reread. They're still the best readers around and I've had several readers down here who didn't read things correctly, and they read things correctly, allowing for my biopsy, number one. And they're much more precise when it comes to reading, and they have all my scans in the system, and they look very closely, and I have a lot of confidence in the radiologic readers, as does Peter Carroll. So I want to maintain that. I want to be able to utilize them if needed in the future, and I'm very pleased with Dr. Belusic, but I just want to back up at Sloan Kettering just in case. I don't know where this is going. Besides, Belusic used the term, and maybe you guys can relieve me somewhat. In writing up this report that I have to bring up to Sloan Kettering, he used the word, I'm getting palliative care. Kind of frightened me. Are we all getting palliative care?
Yeah.
yeah.
And palliative care is not end of life.
Okay.
There's a very significant difference between palliative care and end of life care. Palliative care means being treated for your symptoms.
Right. And I'm not having much those symptoms. I'm being treated for my pathology, not my symptoms. I will, I'm being treated for the lesions, the PSMA lesions in my PSA. But,
Yeah, but you're also receiving palliative care for your heart. That's a possible symptom, and I suspect that that's what he means. But I mean, I wouldn't get too hung up over
that term,
over the over the words. And I also do want to say to you, Jack, that Dr. Beltran is on our list. The two doctors on our list are Dr. Agarwal and Dr. Beltran. We know them both. We have direct connections to them both.
I had a feeling you would, but
right.
I've
we can't get them involved unless they're going to be talking to a responsible doctor.
Yes.
And doesn't seem to be a responsible doctor at the NIH, and we're not prepared to put him into that situation. If they have those two names, if they want to go around us and try and get them involved, that's fine by me. But we won't put them into a situation. I mean,
I find that so shocking, Rick. I'm so shocked because NIH is my alma mater. I spent 3 years there, and it was just the highest quality medicine I had ever seen. So things have changed.
It is, Jack. It's high quality medicine if you don't know what the issue is and you're trying to track it down, but it's not a full service medical facility. And if you get admitted with the purpose of trying to find out what's wrong with you, it's great. The problem is they were trying to find out what was wrong with Herb when it was staring them in the face because they already had the diagnosis of neuroendocrine prostate cancer. Meanwhile, they got some idiot endocrine doctor who's supposed to be a world expert in diabetes looking for other reasons for these Cushing symptoms when it's right there. But no, they don't want to look at someone else's work. So what do? They go biopsy his lung. Why the hell do they put him through a lung biopsy? I got to tell you, it borders on malpractice. It borders on malpractice. And yes, this is in the public forum, and yes, I defend that with anybody. And so that's where the issue lies. And frankly, until until we have a responsible doctor in charge of Herb's care, we as ANCAN are not willing to reach out to either Rahul or to Misha. And we've told them that. So they have to make the decision of what they want to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you. I'm so sorry about Herb.
Yeah, I saw Larry Fish got his.
Yeah, Larry Fish has something to say.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Yes.
No, but this is back to the previous question about darolutamide. You know, I tried to cut my darolutamide to 300, and in 1 month my PSA started creeping up, and I convinced my doctor to go to 450, not 600. So I take one in the morning and two at night, and now everything seems to be under control. But as soon as I cut it back to 300, it was like immediately jumped for the next two
Well,
tests.
that's why they have drug trials. You know, they look at the drug companies aren't just guessing in the closet in the dark. They're they're trying things and coming up with what seems to work for most people. Not everybody. I mean, we're all a little different, but they seem to know. I mean, I tried that with Keytruda. I tried cutting back the time and everything, and now I'm back to the standard dosage of every 3 weeks, because it didn't work for me to cut back.
I had a big discussion. My doctor was like, "Well, why did you do that without talking to me?" And I said, "Because I was getting this, you know, diarrhea that was horrible in the mornings, and I couldn't get to work. And I thought, well, maybe it's just not even being effective. Maybe it's just like running out the medication, just running out the diarrhea." So and plus I used to have to lie down for an hour in the morning before I went to work. So we agreed and we settled on one in the morning and two pills at night. And then it seems that that's working for the time being. And she was talking to me about how in the stage 1 clinical trials, how careful they are about looking at all of these dosages and tolerances. And I was thinking, well, it's great that you're looking at doses and tolerances, but if I can't tolerate 600, I'm just going to cut it back. And she said, well, make sure we're in conversation about that. Make sure we discuss it. And we did end up cutting it back. So 300 wasn't enough, but 450 seems okay.
You weren't taking darolutamide alone, were you? You would take it in conjunction with.
No, I'm getting Lupron still. I'm waiting for my PSA to go down. I mean, now we're switching to me. My PSA to go to undetectable, and then I want to decide what I want to try to cut, and what I think I want to cut is Lupron if it's possible, and then I'll see if I could possibly go back to 600 darolutamide. Right now, I'm sort of holding
How long
steady.
have you been on Lupron for, Larry?
Lupron, 7 years.
7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I got off of Lupron and Abby after 24 months, and I waited about 6 months, and then I got on darolutamide, solo darolutamide, and I'm
As
taking
monotherapy.
Monotherapy. I'm taking 2 pills in the morning and 2 pills at night, 1,200 milligrams. And so I've been on it for a year now, and I'm still undetectable.
Yeah, that's what I'm dreaming of.
Yeah, I did that myself. I got off Lupron and kept on darolutamide. Okay, guys, we're at the end of our time here tonight. So I think I reached everybody. A couple of people came on late. I mean, we have a couple more minutes, but Ken, do you have any updates or anything you want to mention? I don't see anybody else.
But thanks for asking, but no, Peter, I'm good. I was just wanted to listen in. Glad to get the news about Herb.
Could we get new information about you too, about where you're at now? Ken?
I'm sorry?
Could we get information about how you're doing now a little bit? An update? If you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm in the fourth cycle of that. So I finished my 4th injection of high-dose testosterone. I think I'm in the 2nd week. So, you know, your testosterone just spikes and then it gradually goes back down to where it was on Lupron or on Lupron alone. So right now my testosterone level is probably in the 430 range. Next week it'll be in the 200 range, and then it drops down to 0, and then I start darolutamide. So really I won't know whether or not the treatment of bipolar antigen therapy, you know, other than buying me pretty high PSA, but I can't say I have more burden. I don't feel like I have more burden. I'll get labs again in 2 weeks. So maybe then I'll have more information. But really, after I do darolutamide for a couple months, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, good luck with that. Wow. I didn't understand that you were gonna after that you were scheduled to go back to Darrow, but I'm glad.
I've never been on Daro. You know, I was on enzalutamide for a couple of months. It really didn't
Yeah.
work for me.
That's when you went on
Daro
that.
will be.
I guess that's when you
Say
went
that
on that
again?
long. I guess that's when you went on that incredibly long chemo routine.
Right, right. So we'll see. We'll keep you updated, though.
Wow, great. You're kind of one of the pioneers in terms of going into
Well,
BAT.
it's been around for a while, and everyone's
I
a little
know.
bit different.
Yeah, and now going back to Andy Andrews and
Yeah.
his ADTs. Really hope it works and bought you enough time till something better comes along.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. All right. Talk.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Getting dinner.
Anybody else have any
Yeah,
parting
I think,
comments?
Gary Peters had his hand up before, Peter.
I just wanted to add quickly for those who are interested in Jack's comment about the booster. I understand that CDC is going to approve an extra booster very soon for people over 60 or immunocompromised.
Yeah.
You mean a third booster, Gary?
It would be a third.
Third booster,
Right.
okay.
Or a fourth.
But it
Or
would
fourth.
have to be, you need at least, I haven't seen this. My understanding is it would have to be at least 4 months from your last booster.
Right.
I read that. And this is not a new formulation. This is still the one that was designed for Omicron 3 and 4, that
Right.
combo. And they're thinking by the fall they'll have a new formulation for another booster.
Right. And they're thinking, I think the thinking is to combine it with a flu vaccine too somehow. So you don't have to keep taking things, but we'll see. Okay.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah. So anybody else? Joe, you came in late. Do you have anything, Joe Gallo?
No, I was spending my time with the Philly CSC group, so but I just wanted to come in and see how things are going. I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. It's in honor of Herb. We got in it on the right time, so he must be pulling for us as much as we're pulling for him.
Yeah,
It was always
and just to say a big thank you to Dr. John, who will lead next week's group in Herb's absence. So we're very grateful for John for taking on the extra duty.
Yes.
Good job, Peter.
Okay. Thanks very much. It's an honor. Honor working with you all.
Thank you, Peter, so much.
Bye.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, good night, guys.
Right.